What's up, everybody? We're back. It's Aaron Smith with the Momentum Podcast here, and I've got my friend Jacalyn Mains.
Hi.
We've been spending a lot of time together lately.
We have.
Today, we just had a meeting with our team. Jacalyn stopped by to talk about her new position at her title company. Jacalyn, give us a little background about what you're doing these days.
Yeah, so with Holbrook Holbrook, that's the new kid on the block to title in Northern Kentucky. That's kind of how I've coined it. I am technically the key relationship director, which is basically just a fancy pants way of saying I get to, help leading real estate agents and mortgage loan experts provide a boutique closing experience for their customers to leave a lasting impression.
How about that elevator pitch right
That's
there?
That's right.
Guys?
You got it.
Yeah. So, title isn't that sexy of a topic. I think we talked about that, right?
Yeah.
But you were talking about your space, how inviting your space is. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about Holbrook's space here in Northern Kentucky. What can people expect when they walk in for a closing? It's their big day. They get the keys to their house.
Yeah.
What can they expect there?
I would say when you come in, it's a very welcoming environment. And I know for me personally, when I walked in there, I was like, say what? This is a law firm? Wait a minute. Am I in the right building? Because it wasn't that, that dark kind of stale kind of masculine feel. It's bright and it's also very modern and
it's a light and positive environment, right?
Which fits me, right?
Absolutely.
And I say boutique because it kind of almost felt that way when I walked in, when I talk about the boutique closing experience. So it's a nice way to culminate the client experience, to have a nice space to step into, be offered some water, some coffee, a soda.
And as an agent, that closing table experience, that's probably the last time I'm going to spend a quality piece of time with my client, right?
True.
That's usually where I want everybody to be happy. I want them to be excited about getting their keys, or if you're selling a property, I want them to be very excited about the fact that they're moving on to their next chapter. And if you're in this dull, dingy environment, it can impact the mood a little bit.
Sure.
Right? So you kind of want that last impression from an agent onto the client. You want that to be bright, positive, high energy, that sort of thing. So I love that.
Absolutely.
So you and I had a conversation about how you can help agents, how Holbrook Holbrook can help the agents. You talked a little bit about the systems that you guys go through.
Yeah. Feel
free to share as much of that as you want to.
I think one of the things that sets us apart, other than our space looking fantabulous, is that it's that client liaison piece. I feel like that person, having a go-to person, even though we have specialists in their area on the production side of a file, that's what they do. They're slaying it, get their job done. To have that one person you can turn to answer any question that you might have about the process that your file's in, what stage of the process that it's in, that's a good kind of home base, just to have that home base. Not that I wouldn't be happy to answer your questions. I'm probably going to be contacting them because they're in front of the computer and they've got it at their fingertips, that information.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this to you when we were meeting a little bit before, but when I think about systems, I like nice, crisp systems where there's a predictable outcome. And a lot of people at title companies wear a lot of hats, right? So they're taking the title order, they're ordering, the title opinion, and they're communicating with the lender, and they're communicating with the agent, and they're also in charge of having their hands in the file.
Or even scheduling the closing, all of the pieces.
Yeah, scheduling everything. And so that one person at the title company who's the liaison, they're doing it all for 15 to 20 files. So you can imagine wires get crossed, things, there's a lot of pressure on one person. But what you told me about Holbrook Holbrook that really resonated with me is that if somebody is in the system, right? So you have a person whose job is to fix problems, unrecorded mortgages or unreleased liens or whatever that may be. That's their job.
That's what they do.
They're fixing things all day long. And then the other person is finding the problems for that person to fix.
Yep.
So it just seems like it would be a little bit more streamlined, very assembly line of, hey, that's my job. Let me take care of that because that's what I'm really good at.
Right.
And then they funnel all this information into a system where they can communicate with us, the agents, the clients, and that sort of thing.
It makes it more efficient, really. It just
has to.
It just makes it more of an efficient process. And when that's what your area of specialty is, and that's what you do, and you do it well, that's what we bring to the table.
So sometimes when we show up to the closing table, the seller's mad. The buyer asked for too much to be fixed. They agreed to do it because they wanted to keep the sale together. They got into the repairs. It cost more than they thought it was going to, or it was just more headache than they wanted it to be. Buyer's happy because they got everything that they wanted, and they're just mad at the closing table. You mentioned that you have a way of making people feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
So, helping dissolve those situations at the closing table is something that you're really good at. You'll probably be at the closing table eventually, but right now you're just developing relationships.
Sure.
So you ever been in a tense closing like that?
A little bit, yes, I have. I've had a little bit of experience with that, and I'm currently on training to be at the closing table as just a piece of part of the service that I get to offer my clients. And I think that's where when you come in with, and I think this just speaks to just shaping your day. When you come in with positivity, you come in with a nice smile on your face and a good attitude, people are going to feed off of that. And that's what I would bring to the closing table. And also, and I understand that there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of emotion involved with this, this big piece of property, this one big investment. And some people might come out of it not feeling stellar about it. But my job would be to make sure whenever they left that table that they felt better than they came.
And, take the feedback and go back and make the next process better, or make it because the title company, you can't really fix a whole lot of problems when it comes to emotions and inspections and negotiations and things. But you can make the experience at the end better, right?
Yep, you can make it as best as it can be, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears. You're not expecting this. So recently this year, you had thought about, you approached the real estate market with attempting to sell a home right after the real estate mortgage rates went up. So we don't need to get into like showings or anything like that, but I want to talk about the very small part of the process of, hey, we're thinking about selling our house. We need to get it ready for sale. Remember that? Okay, so we're talking about from the day you're like, yes, let's sell the home, until all right, we're ready to put the sign in the yard. Tell me about that and what that was like for you guys, because you guys had trips planned and it kind of messed up your world for a minute.
You know how I move. So when there's a decision that is to be made, I am jumping not 2 feet in, I'm head first, I'm in it. So
committed.
For sure, 100% commitment. So I'm going in looking at everything, going, what projects need to be finished? Love my husband, but there's projects that start and then, don't always get finished. So so literally we did have lists and then some sub lists and maybe another sub list.
Of course you did. Yeah.
And I did what I could do, but when you're blessed with a husband who has a lot of skill sets when it comes to maintaining the home and outside of that, a lot of that got left to him, but I did what I could. But I'm just looking around the house thinking what pieces I'm not a person who likes to collect a lot of things, like a lot of trinkets and stuff.
And dust collectors.
So keeping that pretty streamlined, what's out and what's not. So list.
Rule number 1 of getting your house ready for sale is don't have a lot of snow globes, period. Just in your general life, the more trinkets and display items that you have, the more cleaning up and moving of stuff that you're going to have to do.
And I just think sometimes it can appear cluttered. And from a photography standpoint, I like the cleanliness, just that clean overall look. Not like dirt cleanliness, but just not a lot of stuff.
Getting the house ready, what items did you choose to focus on first?
That's a great question. Well, we were in the process of finishing our basement, so that was pretty much number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go ahead and knock that out. And by I mean
him.
Yeah.
You applied pressure. He got the job done. It was a team effort.
Pretty much how we work. Pretty much how we work.
Well, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is because we get to work with a lot of people who go through that I guess we're really doing this. I guess we need to take care of this laundry list of things that we've been putting off, this thing. And it's, when you look at the list, it's this long. And then when you actually start making the repairs, it starts getting longer, right? Because you start noticing things like, I guess if we're fixing this, we got to fix that thing. And it just gets longer.
Well, and then you also have to think about, sometimes when you take a look at a list, it feels very daunting because you think it's going to take so much time. But some of the stuff, it really doesn't.
Quick.
It's just a number on the list that you can just scratch right off. So that's where I think the headspace comes in. Like, okay, what can we tackle first? And what are the few things that I can just knock right off of this list? And maybe it takes me like a half an hour. Maybe it takes me an hour. So
I think the other thing that
management.
people forget about when it comes time to start getting the house ready for the market, right? So we live in our houses on a daily basis, and we know that there's a chip in that wall over there. We know that baseboard never got caulked after they got installed.
Yep.
We know that there's a loose cabinet hinge. So there's a lot of little things like that. But I'll tell you, when the buyer discovers those is not usually on the first showing. So that first showing, they get the first impression. They walk in. I showed you a house one time, and you literally said, when a house smells bad, it just feels dirty.
Truth.
And it's like, it's because when you're not just experiencing the house with your eyes.
Right.
You're feeling how big it is. Claustrophobia kind of comes in if it's too small. You're feeling is the carpet sticky? Is it soft?
Right.
So you're experiencing the whole house.
There's a lot of senses going on.
Yeah. So when a buyer shows up to a house the first time, does it smell good? Is it bright? Is it clean and not cluttered?
Right.
And then what happens is they schedule the home inspection after it goes under contract. Well, they've only been in the house for 15 to 45 minutes at this point. They've seen all, the windows look nice, the blinds, the flooring is all good. But then they go into the bathroom and they open up the shower door and the stall door's loose and then the cabinet's loose and then things need to be tightened up. And guess what? They brought mom and dad with them. And dad knows everything there is to know about houses because he's owned a house for 30 years. And then dad comes in. And we joke about that because, fathers are very protective and they understand very technical things.
Yes.
So that's what I kind of told you when we were approaching that moment. I was like, look, it's important to take care of these things, but it's kind of a seller's market right now and buyers aren't going to notice every single thing right away. We have a little time to fix the other things before the home inspection kind of thing.
That's a very, very good point, and kind of takes some of that pressure off too, because when you listing your house and you're in go mode, it's just to have one thing to be like, okay, let's take a deep breath.
You know what? Let's just put that on the to-do list.
That's right.
And get the to-done list done.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to go into a fire round here. We got a few more minutes left with Jacalyn. Actually, we got 6.5 minutes left. I don't think it'll take that long.
Okay.
But, I always like to know, because you are very, you educate yourself, right? You look into a lot of different books and you watch some videos on different thought leaders and things. So first question, if you had to give any book recommendation, I'd say nonfiction.
Okay.
Right? So no love romance stories or anything, even if you're into that. But if you had to give a book recommendation or something that's changed the way you think or something that's helped you, what would that be?
Jen Hatmaker, love her. She just wrote a book called Fierce, Free, and Full of Fire.
Okay.
And I, of course, gravitated to that title. Loved her book.
Jen Hatmaker.
Jen Hatmaker, yeah. She's got a podcast. She writes books. She's cool chick.
Awesome.
Super cool chick.
You ever read Jen Sincero? She wrote You're a Badass. You're a Badass at Making Money. So she kind of speaks to that person who needs a confidence boost and things like that, and also business-related things. So pretty cool. Next question I've got for you. Best advice you've ever gotten?
Oh, my gravy. Just be you.
Okay. Don't compare yourself to other people, kind of thing.
Just own yourself. Own it.
You know my wife. When I ask her the question, best advice you've ever gotten, she says, never turn down a breath mint.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Never turn down a breath mint.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
That's that's a really good one.
I've gotten a lot of better advice than that, but that's the one that sticks out. I'm like, Because it's so
Well
true.
done, Leanne.
It's so true.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks, babe. Appreciate that. Now, worst piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Oh,
Well, something that somebody told you that would work or to do that you're like, maybe you tried it or didn't, but it was a bad piece of advice.
nothing comes to mind, and I think because even if you've gotten a bad piece of advice and you went down that road, there's still something to learn from it. There's still a takeaway. So although it may have come out bad and it didn't turn out like you thought, there's still something to be learned.
Yeah.
So I can't. Sorry to be so generic, but
No,
I mean, I can't think of like one piece that I was like, that was
We
the
tend-
worst advice ever.
Positive people tend to gravitate away from like that negative thought kind of thing. But there's a piece of advice that I've gotten that has worked really well for me.
Okay.
And I've had it also backfire really bad. And that piece of advice is it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Uh-huh.
Because I've had it like you kind of assume and then you do it and like it works out okay. But then I had it work out really bad one time.
Yeah.
Where a really good friend of mine, and if he's watching, he'll know exactly who he is. There was a tree that was on the property line between my house and the house next door. It was like right on the property line. Maybe it was in their yard. I'm not sure. But most of it leaned over my property.
Okay.
And it was dead. Like maybe 3 leaves on the whole tree. The rest of it was dead. So he said, I don't see anything bad coming out of this. Let's just take the tree down. I was like, well, most of it is on my property anyway. So we cut the tree down, thinking it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Mm-hmm. And I had a letter put on my door the next day from the guy next door. And I was like, man, I am dumb. Like that was stupid.
I will say I have been given that advice. I never follow that one. That one
I
is the
don't blame
one that
you.
I am always the person that's going to ask for permission. But hey, you learned a lesson in that now, didn't you?
You either win or you learn. And I learned
right.
a lot.
Hey, and maybe learning is winning. So there you go.
Man, your positivity is
I'm
just,
sorry. I just can't
I'm
help it.
catching it. It's right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Jacalyn Mains.
Hi, guys. Thanks for allowing me to be on today.
She's popping in from Holbrook and Holbrook Title Company. They're the new kid on the block here in Northern Kentucky. Yeah. And as always, thanks for being awesome.
Thanks, Aaron.
See you
Bye,
guys.
everyone.